Hi, so I hope you really enjoyed that little lesson, the little video on optical illusion and how it works. We are going to now start our first project, walking into a triangle. So I'm going to show you step by step how to create the illusion. And I hope that you take your time, have fun, watch the video a couple times if you need to, and then ask questions if you need to. So we're going to start our project. Okay, guys, for this activity, now that you have watched and understand a little bit more about optical illusion, we are going to start our first optical illusion. And I am calling this optical illusion walk into a triangle. And you can see why. It looks like you can walk directly into that triangle. So for this project, you will need a piece of paper, and I like to use thicker paper. This is like a piece of tag board paper or poster board. If you don't have that, that's fine, but quality paper will work better since we are using Sharpies. And if you want to do this on a regular sheet of paper first, just to practice drawing it and measuring it, that's okay as well. So you will also need your ruler, your pencil, a compass if you have one, and I will show you both ways, and then a fine point Sharpie. So the first thing I'm going to show you to do is how to do it with a compass to make your triangle, because we are making an equilateral triangle. An equilateral triangle means that it has 3 equal sides and 3 equal angles. So these sides on this triangle are all 5 inches. So to make an equilateral triangle, the first way you can do it is draw a 5-inch line on your paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come about here towards the bottom of my paper. I'm going to line my paper up, my ruler up with the edge of my paper so I have a straight line. Okay, so the edge of my ruler is lined up with the edge of my paper, and then I'm going to go towards the middle and I'm going to measure a 5-inch line. So I'm going to start at my 4. So 5 inches from my 4 will go to 9. So there's my first 5-inch line. With a compass, you will open your compass up. So I'm putting my point onto one end of my line. So here's my point, the sharp point, on the end of my line. And I'm going to expand my compass to where it equals 5 inches. So my point is here, my lead is there. Put that in, and I'm going to put this right here, and I need to pull it in just a little bit. There we go. Hold your paper down, and you're going to lightly draw an arc. Then you're going to move the sharp point to the other side. You're going to set your pencil down, and then you're going to make an arc. We have made the top point of our triangle now. And I know it's really light. So that is the center of here. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to put my pencil on this center point, and I'm going to line my ruler up to the edge of my bottom line. And I'm going to draw from point to point. That should equal 5 inches if I line this up. So that line from there to there is 5 inches. 5 inches and 5 inches. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, line up my points. And this line will be 5 inches. So lining my points up here and here, it's a 5-inch line. So that is my 5-inch equilateral triangle. That's the first way to do it. So if you don't have a compass, here is how you can do it with just a ruler. So I'm going to come down below, down to the bottom of my paper. I'm going to line the edge of my ruler up with the side of my paper. So I'm drawing a straight line. And then I'm going to, like I did before, start at the 4 and draw to the 9. And now I'm going to measure that 5-inch square or 5-inch line and put a little mark at the halfway point at 2.5 inches, because 2.5 is half of 5. I'm going to bring my ruler to the top of my paper, line up the edge of my ruler with the edge of my paper so it's a straight line, and I'm going to draw a line across my paper from the 4 to the 9, because that's what I did below. So now I have a 5-inch line at the top, a 5-inch line here, and then I'm going to measure the top line just like I did, and I'm going to put a little mark at the 2.5 inch place, because that is halfway between 0 and 5. Now I'm going to connect those two dots. So lining my ruler up with those two marks, I'm going to draw a light line between them. You guys can do this with light pencil. You don't have to do it dark. So now what we're going to do, we're going to put our 0. So where your ruler is, where your 0 is on your ruler, you're going to line that up with that corner of your bottom 5-inch line. You're going to move your ruler on that pivot point to where the 5 and the 0 are touching. So your 0 is going to be touching this corner, and your 5 is going to be touching this line that we drew in half. And we're going to draw a line connecting. That's one side of our triangle. So now we have one 5-inch edge side and another 5-inch side. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to connect our 5 and our 0. Now you have a 5-inch equilateral triangle without using your compass. So I'm going to turn my back over to this side, because this is going to be the front of my square, but either way is fine. Now we are going to, either way you have your square drawn, with or without the compass, you're going to mark your 1/2 inch at the bottom of your triangle. And if you did it without the compass, you've already got that halfway at 2.5 inches. I'm going to draw a light line, because this is just a guideline, from the top angle to the halfway point on the bottom of my triangle. Now I'm going to do the same thing on both of my sides. So I'm going to find my halfway mark. And with your compass, it may be just a little bit off point to point on the measuring, because of how you line up your pencil and your point. So just do the best you can to get it on the line on both spots, your 0 here and your 5 here. And then make your little mark at 2.5 inches. And then do it with the last side. So this one is almost perfect. That one was a little off, because with the pencil lead thickness and then the little point of the compass, sometimes it gets slightly off. So do the best that you can to get it in the center. Now I'm going to draw, now that I have my 2 halfway points marked, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to connect this corner to that halfway. And just again, this is just a guideline, so it can be light. And I'm going to do the same thing from this halfway point to this opposite angle. And now you'll have a triangle that looks like this. From here, we're going to put our ruler on the center line, starting at the 0 at this top angle, and we're going to go all the way down to this, and we're going to mark 1/4 of an inch all the way down that line. So we're just going to put little tally marks at every 1/4 of an inch all the way down that line. And these are just light little marks, not dark marks, so that we can erase them when we're done. Okay. We're going to do the same thing down each of the other lines. So starting at our point, we're going to mark every 1/4 of an inch down the inside diagonal line. And doing the same thing again, starting at our point. We are going to mark our 1/4 of an inch sections. Now your triangle will look like this with all those little tallies in there. Now, we are going to start on the right side of our triangle, and we are going to start connecting the little tallies on that side. So we're going to do from this tally at the bottom, that first little mark on the inside, your first 1/4 inch mark on that side, to that top 1/4 inch on this upper part. So we're just going to lightly from the diagonal, so starting on the diagonal, connect it to that upper diagonal, only to the diagonal. So see, I just went from this diagonal line to that diagonal line. Now I'm going to move my ruler down to the next little marks, and I'm going to do that line again, connecting the diagonal line to the other diagonal line. And I'm going to do that 3 more times. So we're going to have a total of 5 lines on the right side of our triangle. So I have the outside line, then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side, on the left side. So I'm going to connect from this first 1/4 inch tally on this diagonal this way to that top one, and connect that up to that line that I just drew up there. And we're going to do the same thing down this way. We're going to do 5 lines first. So connecting that bottom diagonal to the top one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you get your lines off a little, you can erase them. That's why we're doing just light guidelines. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now if you notice right here, they are not matching up with those tallies that we did earlier, and that's okay, they shouldn't. So just leave those little tallies in there and don't worry about that, because your line should not cross those. Now we're going to do the bottom the same way. So we're going to connect starting at that first tally on that diagonal and connecting across. And we're going to go up 5 lines this way too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So now your triangle is going to look like this. Now, here is the key. So this time we are going to go on this side first, and we are going to walk these lines in, but our line is going to connect to this line. So I'm going to connect just like I did before. Here's my tally on this one, here's my tally on that one, but instead of stopping on that diagonal, I'm going to go straight across to that other line. So see, I stopped on this halfway line here, but this time I went past it. So now we're going to do that, and we're going to come up, we're going to connect the tally on this one and the tally on this one, but we're going to go past it to this line. I'm going to keep going in. So we made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more lines. Now we're going to do the bottom. We're going to connect these just like we did. We're going to go straight across that diagonal and connect it to this one. So see, I am connecting past this diagonal to this line. We're just making our way slowly to the center of our triangle. So now we have our triangle that looks like this. Now, to finish it, sorry, we are going to put our ruler on this line, on this part right here, this last line that connects right here. We're going to put our pencil there. We're going to mark our ruler, or put our ruler right up against that dot right there. So now from here, we're just going to kind of gauge a little bit. So we're going to start with our little tally because we have this tally here. So we're just going to put our ruler on that mark, and we're going to try to make this line parallel with that line. So we're going to put our line there, and we're just going to draw to that. So see how I made another little parallel line right there? Then we're going to do the same thing this way. So we're going to try, and I'm turning my paper so that I can see this line, so I can see and judge if it's parallel. So I'm going to try to make my line parallel with that one the best you can. So now I'm just kind of, gauging parallel. Do it again. Make this line that I'm drawing now parallel to this one, and I'm going up each of those little marks. So see, I've added, and that one's not quite parallel, so I'm going to erase that one, and I'm going to draw it again. And then I'm going to connect these. So I'm going to kind of try to make the line that I'm drawing now parallel to that one, which means they don't cross, they stay completely straight. And then the same with this one. Okay. So now I have all of my lines going in. Okay. So when we ran out of lines to cross right here and right here, we went from this to this, and we tried to make that line parallel to the one before it. Then we went up to our next little 1/4 inch tally, and we made this line from here to here parallel to that line, and then the same way on each of these sides. Now that you have all of this done with pencil, we're going to trace all of our lines with our Sharpie. So I would start with one side first and work my way across. So I'm going to start with my outside line, and then I'm just going to slowly work my way down all of those diagonal lines on this side. My Sharpie is kind of running out. There we go. Okay, so I've done all my lines on that side. Now I'm going to come and do these going in this way. And I'm not doing my guidelines that were where I put my marks. I'm just doing the lines that I drew connecting those 1/4 inch tallies. So I'm tracing my lines all the way to the center of my triangle. Then I'm going to come in on the last side all the way. Okay, so once you get them all drawn with your Sharpie, let it dry a second so it doesn't smear. And then you can come back in with an eraser and erase all of your pencil guidelines. Be careful not to rub too hard over the Sharpie because you will erase it just a little bit. So just be gentle in your erasing. Dust this off in the trash can. And then there is your walk through into the triangle optical illusion. And now that you're finished, you can take a picture of it and post it for your completed assignment. I hope you had fun with this one. If you have any questions or comments, or you need me to go over it again, let me know and I will be glad to help.